Hey everyone, welcome to a new video. I hope you had a great day. Let's take a look at some new malicious compliance stories. The first story is called Short and Sweet. I'm friends with several people who work at a local grocery store. It's got a strong union that doesn't let the corporation mess with the employees too much. The store recently got a new director who transferred in from out of state. And it's becoming apparent that he never worked in a union store before. Our area was recently hit by a larger than normal amount of snow. And as such, there were almost no customers for a couple of days because the roads were mostly impassable. To try to save money, the director forced employees to go home before their scheduled time off. Most of those employees complied, some were threatened with write-ups when they refused for insubordinate conduct. But those employees who were sent home early? The director is now being forced by the union to pay them every cent they would have earned during their full scheduled shifts for those days. It's in the contract after all, and nearly all of them knew that when they agreed to go home. The next story is called Be Quiet. This took place in late 2014. I was fresh out of university, and as my first real job post-graduation, I landed a junior position for a construction firm. We were putting up the condos around the greater Toronto area at the peak of the condo boom. I was lucky enough to be assigned to the lead safety team, and the lead engineer was my direct supervisor. The company I was working for had just got a huge contract to re-engineer and fix the balcony glass on several condo buildings in the downtown area. It was all managed by the same management company. The reason is that the glass they used on the balconies had a tendency to randomly shatter. This would send thousands of tiny pebble-sized shards of glass raining down 10 to 35 stories. The official reason was a manufacturing defect. The real reason was prioritizing form over function. The company that built the buildings didn't factor in all the vibration from the high winds and heat from the city. And the solution was literally 5 centimeters of rubber, a thicker shatterproof tempered glass, and millions of dollars. But with that out of the way, I was employed in the safety department. We had a difficult time with the design and art department. They cared about form over function and safety. We were at the tail end of a project and about to break ground on a condo development, 2 35-story buildings surrounded by townhomes just off the lakeshore. Unfortunately, to the art department's dismay, we had to add in a wind wall. Right where the building was situated was a high wind zone because of the lake effect wind and the highway. There was this wind tunnel that would pass the back road of the building. And winds at 100 plus kilometers per hour are enough to knock you off your feet. But the design department hated it and thought it was ugly and cost sales. After months of back and forth between the two departments, my boss set up a meeting with the design department. He put me in charge of doing the presentation, the new junior engineer, because in all honesty it was just not an important thing, it was just go get them off our backs. Well, it comes to the day of the presentation and I show up a little bit early to set up. I go find the boss of the department because I had never met the man before. Well, I get to his desk and try to introduce myself. I was met with a "Be quiet, we are waiting for one of the dummies from upstairs. Don't say a word and take a seat." So that's what I did. I texted my boss and explained what happened, and he said, "Just wait, don't say a word, just wait." So I did. 20 minutes pass and you can see the boss getting visibly agitated. Another 20 minutes pass and the man is seething with rage and makes a call. My boss texts me and he says the guy is going to call you in a few minutes. You have permission to say what you want. Well, I'm sitting in the silent meeting area. The boss makes a big spectacle of coming out and saying, "Everyone, be quiet, I'm going to call this idiot and see what's the holdup." My phone starts to ring and I answer. And before the guy says a thing, I say, "I am sorry, I can't talk right now. I'm trying to start a meeting, but some idiot won't let me," and hung up. The man's face went red. He didn't stay around for the meeting, he went to try to shoo my boss out. It didn't work. The meeting went off with no problems and it ended that issue with the design department. I only stayed at that job for about a year until my boss recommended me for a better job. The last story is called Better Than That. This happened 2 decades ago. My first job was at a fast food chain. I worked hard, impressed the store manager and got myself promoted. At the time I was still 17. I was promoted to team leader with the implication that I would get promoted further when I was older. I was still in high school, so I worked the evening shift, which started at 4 and ended at 12. The evening manager was a good guy who also worked hard and as a result had gotten promoted to a store manager position at a different location. Since they needed a manager and I wasn't old enough, they hired a new manager who I'll call Karen. Karen starts shadowing the current night manager, learning the ropes. After 2 weeks he departs and she is now set to take over. I normally get in around 30 minutes early. One of my responsibilities is to make a position chart, which tells the workers where they are working that night. I need to hand it off to the manager for approval before posting it. As I arrive, I notice one of our night shift workers is already there. We'll call her Jen. She is sitting in the lobby, crying and being consoled by other employees. I always found her to be a bit maniac, but she was a nice girl. She had a rough home life, so I didn't hold it against her. I come to find out that she had just had a large fight with her mother, which ended with her getting kicked out. So she is effectively homeless. A good reason to be upset. I asked her if she needs the night off. She says no, she needs the money. I can't disagree and head off to get started. For the night shift, the night manager typically runs the drive-thru register after the day shift leaves. There are a few reasons for this. First, this means that the manager has control of the drawer and money for the entire night. This eliminates the possibility of employees having short drawers. Second, this also puts the manager as the person interacting with the customers. I lived in a college town, so drunken guys drive through all the time and just want to chat up the pretty face behind the register. Third, it gives the manager the least amount of responsibilities as far as cleanup. So given what I now know, I make a position chart and place Karen on the register and Jen on a fryer where she can get help if she can't focus. I walked to the office to hand off the chart to the night manager and was surprised that he wasn't there. He normally is in at least an hour before the shift to make sure everything is ready. That's when I remembered that this will be Karen's first night alone. I groan inwardly. This is gonna be a trial by fire kind of night. The day manager is there, but no sign of Karen. It's now 10 minutes to the shift and even the day manager is wondering what's up. I fill the day manager in about Jen, show her the chart and ask if it looks good. She agrees and I said I'll post it for now and Karen can sign it when she gets in. I had just finished posting the position chart when Karen shows up, looking frazzled. She heads to the office without a word to anyone. Meanwhile, people start getting into position and ready for the shift. A few minutes later, Karen walks up, pulls my position chart and replaces it with a new one. Again, she walks off without a word. According to the new position chart, Jen is working the drive-thru and Karen is working nothing. Her name isn't there. She has another employee working 2 positions and the whole shift working effectively 1 person short. I head to the office where Karen and the day manager are talking and ask for some clarification. I explain that there must be a mistake. No, that's right. But you are not in a position and this worker is working 2 positions. Well, how am I supposed to be in charge if I'm in a position? The day shift manager and I just stare at her blankly. The day shift manager said, "You need to be in a position. You are accounted for in the labor calculation." And Karen said, "Well, I have 6 years of management experience and I have never needed to fill a position to get the job done. Things are gonna change around here. We do things my way now." Now she just spent the last 2 weeks shadowing a manager that walked her through every step of the job. She knows that she should be in a position and why. This shouldn't even be a question. She just wants to spend the shift sitting in the office and everyone knows it. At this point, the day shift manager and I are sharing horrified glances at each other. I tell Karen that she will need to go get people moved around if that's what she wants because it's her plan. She gives an exasperated sigh and heads that way. I turn to the day shift manager and plead with her to call the store manager and let her know what's going on. And she agrees. I head back to the line and start working. After a short time later, the day shift manager pulls me aside and says that the store manager said it is Karen's shift. She is in charge, she makes the decisions. And then she leaves for the night. The shift proceeds to implode in a spectacular fashion. Less than an hour in, the employee working 2 positions is so far in the weeds that orders are taking 3 times as long to get out. The drive-thru is backed up and the guys stuck at the window waiting are trying to flirt with Jen, who is having none of it and getting more annoyed by the minute. As the wait gets longer and longer, the people are becoming more and more irate as they get to the window and they are taking it out on Jen. Things are starting to get out of hand and Karen is nowhere to be seen. I go to the office to let her know we need help and find her watching a portable TV. I start to tell her what's going on and she cuts me off. She tells me to get back on the line, do my job and stop bothering her. I was about to try and explain when I just thought, you know what, screw that. I turned, walked back to the line and watched the situation unfold. 30 minutes later, a car at the window is giving Jen an earful about how long she has been waiting. She calls her worthless and Jen goes off. She takes the large strawberry milkshake next to her, chucks it at the lady and calls her names. The lady and the inside of her car are covered in pink goo. Everything went so silent you could hear a pin drop. And then the lady starts screaming. Jen closes the window on her and walks calmly to the back. The lady peers around the front and comes in the front door, screaming for a manager. I go and knock on the office door. Karen appears, looking angry and annoyed. She tries to snap at me, but I tell her she has a customer at the front asking for the manager. Karen rolls her eyes and heads towards the front, oblivious to what is waiting for her. I went and found Jen in the back, crying again. I tell her to get herself together and head back to the front when she is ready. I head to the line where the now purple-faced lady is screaming at Karen about dry cleaning and upholstery cleaning and I want that girl fired. At this point I can see that Karen has finally realized that things have gotten way out of control. She is trying to calm the lady down, but she is having none of it. Eventually Jen comes back to the line and the lady starts in on her again, calling her all kinds of nasty things. Karen just stood there and let the woman berate her. Jen just kinda deflated in front of us. Watching her crumble like that just broke something in me. I walked over to Jen and said, just quit, you are better than this job. And you can do better. She looked up at me for a moment, then smiled. She lifted her chin, walked to Karen, said I quit, handed her name tag to her and walked out. Karen started apologizing to the lady who now seemed slightly mollified. And then Karen started bad-mouthing Jen to her, saying how she was a terrible employee and how we were all happy she was gone. That's when I decided I was better than that job too. I looked at Karen and said, the only terrible employee here is you. And I walked out. 2 other employees walked out right behind me. We all met with Jen in the parking lot and went to an IHOP where we sat and speculated on how Karen was getting along. Jen told me that was the first time in her life anyone had ever stood up for her. The next day I got a call from the store manager asking for an explanation. Apparently Karen had struggled the entire night with service. Afterward she had been there most of the night trying to clean and prep for the day shift and had done a really bad job. The story she had given the store manager was that Jen and I had planned everything but the intent to set her up because we didn't like her and wanted to see her fail. Karen had basically blamed the whole incident on Jen and me. The store manager told me that she was investigating to get all sides of the story, so I told her. A few hours later she called again and informed me that Karen was no longer employed and asked if I would be coming in that night. I asked if Jen was getting her job back and she said no. The whole shake debacle wasn't something she could overlook. I said then my answer is no and she was surprised. She tried to negotiate with me. I told her my price was Jen getting her job back. She said she couldn't do that and that was that. And if you're wondering how Jen turned out, I married her. We are very happy and have 4 children. Wow, what a story. I'm happy for both of them. Sounds like they are really better than that job. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please don't forget to press the like button. Have a great day. Bye bye.